Welcome to another episode of Microsoft Knowledge Nuggets on M365 FM. I'm Mirko Peters, and today we're tackling SharePoint Premium. But first, here's a number that might surprise you. Around 2 billion new documents are created in Microsoft 365 every single day. 2 billion, and most of them are a mess. Wrong names, no tags, buried in the wrong folders. So what is SharePoint Premium and why should you care? By the end of this episode, you'll understand what it adds to regular SharePoint and whether it's worth your time. Grab your coffee and let's dive in. The problem that SharePoint Premium solves. Let's start with a plain English definition. SharePoint Premium is an AI-powered add-on for SharePoint Online. It is not a replacement. Your existing SharePoint stays exactly where it is. Premium sits on top and adds features that regular SharePoint doesn't have. Let's clear up a common myth first. Many people think Premium is a new version of SharePoint. It isn't. It's an add-on that improves what you already have. Think of it this way. Regular SharePoint is a filing cabinet where you toss files into drawers. Premium is the same cabinet, but now it automatically labels each folder, sorts every document, and locks the drawers that shouldn't be open. For small teams, base SharePoint works fine. You create a library, add folders, and everyone knows where things go. But that approach breaks at scale. When you have hundreds of sites and thousands of users, manual tagging stops working. Files get named final v3, actual docx, metadata gets ignored, and permissions turn into a tangle. Now nobody can find anything. The real pain is unstructured content piling up with no system. Missing metadata makes search useless, files you know exist become impossible to locate, and permissions leak because someone shared a folder with everyone and forgot about it. Why does this matter now? Because Copilot needs clean tagged content to be useful. If your files are a mess, Copilot returns garbage. It's the content's fault, not Copilot's. SharePoint Premium gives that clean foundation. It takes messy files and turns them into structured, searchable, managed knowledge. So in one sentence, Premium turns SharePoint from a filing cabinet into an active content brain. It understands files, organizes them, and keeps them secure. Let's break down exactly what that means, starting with the first pillar. Pillar 1, Content Experiences. Content Experiences is the pillar that makes your documents smarter. It's not about more folders or better menus. It's about giving you better ways to interact with your files without digging through endless folder trees. Let me show you a real example. The Business Documents app inside Microsoft Teams. Instead of hunting through separate libraries for contracts, invoices, and statements of work, you get one unified view, everything in one place. And it's smart enough to show you alerts when contracts are about to expire or when something needs your attention. You don't have to check. The app surfaces it for you. Here's another one, the document portal for external sharing. If you've ever tried to share files with a vendor or partner, you know how painful that can be. Emailing attachments back and forth, giving temporary access to a SharePoint folder, and hoping permissions don't break. The document portal gives you branded external sites with security built in. Your partners get a clean experience. You keep control over who sees what. Then there's the integrated file viewer. It supports over 400 file types, CAD drawings, PDFs, images, videos, you name it, and it's more than a viewer. You can add annotations, leave comments, tag colleagues, and assign tasks directly on the file. No more downloading, editing, re-uploading, and hoping nobody overwrote your changes. Everything happens in one place. Why does this matter for you? Less context switching, fewer I can't find it tickets, better collaboration because the system does the organizing. Users don't need to change their habits. The system surfaces what they need. That's the whole point. But experiences are only half the story. Content also needs to be processed automatically, which brings us to the second pillar. Pillar 2, Content Processing. Content processing is where the AI does the heavy lifting. This pillar reads, classifies, and extracts metadata from documents without human help. No more relying on someone in accounting to remember to tag an invoice correctly. The system handles it automatically. These are the core capabilities. Pre-built AI models for invoices, receipts, and contracts. Optical character recognition, or OCR, for scanned PDFs, so text and images become searchable. Image tagging to identify what's in a picture. Content assembly to build new documents from templates. Translation to convert files into different languages. That covers most of what organizations need. How does it work in practice? You enable pay-as-you-go through an Azure subscription. Once that's set, the AI runs on files as they get uploaded to your document libraries. You don't trigger it manually, it just happens. Let me give you a concrete example. A PDF invoice arrives in your document library. OCR reads the text from that scanned document, then autofill columns kicks in and pulls out the vendor name, the invoice amount, and the due date, storing all of that as metadata columns on the file. Now that invoice is searchable, filterable, and usable in workflows. Nobody had to open it, read it, or type anything. Why does this matter? Clean metadata is the foundation for everything: search, automated workflows, and Copilot. Without it, your AI tools are guessing. Copilot can't answer, show me all invoices from Fabricam over $5,000 if the invoices don't have vendor names and amounts stored as metadata. It's not magic, it's preparation. What this means for you is simple. You get to automate the busy work your team hates and does inconsistently. Manual metadata entry is boring and error-prone. Nobody does it the same way twice. AI does it the same way every time, but processing without oversight is dangerous. Which brings us to the third pillar. Pillar 3, content governance. Content governance is the bouncer at the door. It controls who sees what, cleans up stale content, and enforces your policies. Once you start processing thousands of files automatically, you need to make sure those files don't end up in the wrong hands. Let me walk you through the main tools. Data Access Governance Reports, DAG for short, shine a light on oversharing by showing you which sites are wide open, where permissions don't match your policies, and where sensitive content might be exposed. Site access reviews force site owners to validate permissions on a regular schedule, so instead of hoping someone remembers to check, the system sends them a notification and requires a response. Restricted access control lets you lock content down, so only pre-approved security groups can touch it, even if someone tries to share it more broadly. Then there's lifecycle management. It automatically archives inactive sites, detects sites that have lost their owners, and sends batch notifications, so owners don't get flooded with individual emails. If a project team stopped using their site 6 months ago, the system can flag it, notify the owner, and archive it if nobody responds. Here's a real example. Your DAG report flags a finance site that's shared with everyone except external users. That's a red flag. It means every internal employee can see whatever's in there, including bonus spreadsheets or tax IDs. You run a site access review, the finance team validates who actually needs access, you restrict permissions, and the leak is fixed. Before Premium, you might not have caught that until an audit, or worse, until after a data breach. Why is governance so important here? Because AI automation can multiply your mistakes. If you're processing thousands of files automatically and your permissions are a mess, you're just speeding up the spread of bad access. Premium gives you the guardrails so you can automate with confidence, knowing the system is watching for problems. What this means for you is fewer compliance headaches and less cleanup after the fact. Instead of spending your weekends fixing permissions and chasing site owners, the system does the monitoring and the nagging for you. These 3 pillars don't exist in isolation. Here's how they work together as one system. How the 3 pillars connect. Here's where it all comes together. These 3 pillars aren't separate products you buy and use independently. They're a system where each one feeds the next. Experiences surface content for users, processing structures that content automatically, governance keeps it secure, and they all depend on each other. Think about a real-world flow. A contract gets uploaded to your SharePoint library, and content processing kicks in immediately. AI reads the document, classifies it as a contract, extracts the expiration date and the parties involved, and stores those as metadata columns. Now that contract appears in the Business Documents app in Teams, complete with its metadata, ready for someone to review. And because governance policies are in place, only the right people can see it. The finance team, the legal department, the contract owner, everyone else is locked out. That's the key insight. SharePoint Premium isn't 3 separate things you bolt onto your tenant. It's one platform where each pillar makes the others better. Without content processing, the Business Documents app just shows you a list of files with no useful information. It's junk. Without governance, all that automated processing creates risk because you're classifying and surfacing content that might be overshared. And without content experiences, governance is just a rule book that nobody reads. Here's why this matters if you're just getting started. You don't need to buy all 3 pillars at once. You can start with content processing for one document library and see how it works, or you can start with governance reports to understand what's happening in your tenant right now. But understanding the whole picture helps you plan. You know where you're headed even if you're only taking the first step today. And the biggest reason to care about this picture is what it enables for Copilot. Let's talk about that. Why Copilot demands SharePoint Premium. Imagine this. Your company buys Copilot licenses for everyone. The execs are excited, the demos look amazing, and then someone asks Copilot to show all invoices over $10,000 from Fabricam in 2023. Instead of a clean list, Copilot returns a random mix of PDFs, meeting notes, and an email that happened to mention the word invoice. Users get frustrated. Leadership starts wondering why they spent all that money. The problem isn't Copilot, it's the content. Copilot can only work with what it has, and if your documents don't have clean metadata, if invoices aren't tagged with vendor names and amounts, if contracts don't have expiration dates stored as data, then Copilot is just guessing. And guessing doesn't look like magic, it looks like a mess. SharePoint Premium fixes that by providing the structured metadata, classified documents, and governed access that Copilot needs to deliver useful answers. When an invoice arrives, Premium extracts the vendor, the amount, and the due date, then stores them as columns. Now, when someone asks Copilot about invoices from Fabricam, it doesn't have to guess. It filters by the vendor column, returns exactly what was asked for, and looks like a hero. Microsoft's own guidance is clear. Preparing content for AI is the primary use case for SharePoint Premium. They've said it directly. If you want Copilot to work well, you need to get your content in order first, and Premium is the tool for that job. The warning is simple. Don't expect magic from Copilot if your tenant is a mess. Copilot is not a cleanup crew, it's an amplifier. If your content is organized and governed, Copilot makes you faster and smarter. If your content is a disaster, Copilot just surfaces that disaster more efficiently. What this means for you is straightforward. If you're planning a Copilot rollout, start with SharePoint Premium, or at minimum, start cleaning your content. Don't wait until after the rollout to discover that your AI assistant can't find anything useful. Get the foundation right first. All of this sounds great in theory, but every admin has the same practical question. What does it actually cost? Licensing costs and what's free. Here's the bottom line. SharePoint Premium is not included in any Microsoft 365 E-Series plan. Not E3, not E5, not the new E7. It's an add-on built through Azure on a pay-as-you-go basis. You pay for what you use, nothing more. But here's some good news. Through December 2025, Microsoft is offering limited monthly capacity at no cost. You can try the core document processing features, autofill columns, OCR, translation, and e-signature without spending a dime. It's a genuine free trial, not a marketing trick. If you've been curious about Premium, now is the time to test it. After December, you'll need to pay. One thing to keep straight. SharePoint Advanced Management, Backup, and Archive are separate products with their own licensing. They used to be bundled under the Premium umbrella, but Microsoft split them out. They're not part of the pay-as-you-go services, so if you need those, you license them separately. The cost management tip is simple. You can turn on pay-as-you-go services per site, not tenant-wide. Start with one library, one site, one document type, set a budget in Azure and monitor the first month's bill. Then decide if the value justifies the cost. Don't flip the switch for everything at once. And yes, the name has changed multiple times. Project Cortex became Syntex. Syntex became SharePoint Premium. And now Microsoft is quietly referring to the pay-as-you-go services as document processing for Microsoft 365. It's confusing, I know. Here's my advice. Ignore the name and focus on the capability. Whether it's called Syntex Premium or document processing, the underlying technology is the same. It reads your documents, extracts metadata, and makes your content usable. What this means for you is straightforward. Test with the free promotion, measure the ROI, and then scale only where the value proves itself. Don't buy the whole platform upfront. Let the results tell you where to invest. So where should you actually start? Your first steps. The smartest move you can make is to start small. Pick one high-volume document type. Invoices are the classic example, and turn on a pre-built processing model on a single site. That's all. One document type, one site, see what happens from there. Why invoices? Because they show up regularly and look the same every time. The metadata inside them, vendor name, amount, due date, feeds straight into accounts payable. If you automate that extraction, you're saving real human hours that people can spend on more important work. Your next step is running a data access governance report. This is the report that shows you exactly where your content is overshared, who has access to what, which sites are wide open. And the results usually surprise people. Most organizations find that 30 to 40% of their sites need attention. Nobody was being malicious. Permissions drift over time as people leave and projects end. Access just doesn't get cleaned up unless you check. The DAG report shows you the problem spots. After that, set up a content center and push your first model to a pilot team. The content center is where you manage your AI models. You create the model there, publish it, and apply it to specific document libraries. Start with a small pilot, maybe 5 to 10 users who actually work with those documents every day. Get their feedback, make changes, and then roll it out wider. Before you dive into any document process, ask yourself 4 quick questions. Is the volume high enough that nobody will ever tag files manually? Is the document type repeatable with the same fields and structure every time? Does the metadata you extract feed something downstream? A workflow, a report, Copilot? And does someone actually own the outcome, someone who will use those columns once they're populated? If any answer is no, that document type might not be worth your time. Here's the common mistake. People want to build 50 custom models right away. It's tempting to think you need a unique model for every document type. You don't. Pre-built models cover about 80% of common scenarios. Invoices, receipts, contracts, start there. Only add a custom model when you've proven the value and found a gap that pre-built ones can't fill. One more thing. The free pay-as-you-go promotion runs through December 2025. That's your window to test this technology with no cost. Don't let it close without giving it a shot. That's the system. Let's wrap it up. SharePoint Premium is the engine that turns messy files into structured knowledge and makes Copilot a tool that actually works. Start with one document type, one site, one pilot. Test the free promotion. Let the results guide your next move. Subscribe to Microsoft Knowledge Nuggets on M365 FM for more plain English breakdowns. Drop a comment with your biggest content pain point. We'll answer it in a future episode.